Hey Scottsdale, fall's here, which means it's Arizona Fall League season.
That's right. And this year, we've got the Scottsdale Scorpions bringing the heat right here at Scottsdale Stadium.
Come see MLB's top prospects from the Giants, Mets, Tigers, Pirates, and Blue Jays, all on one team. It's baseball you can't miss.
And it's affordable and fun for the whole family. Tickets are just $13 for adults, $11 for seniors and teens, and kids under 10 get in for free.
Plus, games are right here at Scottsdale Stadium with afternoon games at 1:30 and evening games at 6:30. Perfect for any schedule.
So grab your family, grab your friends, and grab those tickets. This is your chance to see future stars in action.
Head over to Scottsdale Stadium at 7408 East Osborne Road and let's cheer on the Scorpions.
Arizona Fall League, now through November 16th. Don't miss it. Get ready, Scottsdale. It's time for Canal Convergence, lighting up the Scottsdale waterfront from November 8th to the 17th. Each night, stunning large-scale art installations will bring the canal to life with this year's theme, Reflections, sparking thoughts both inside and out. Bring the whole family for an unforgettable experience with live music, hands-on workshops, history tours, food trucks, and more. Plus, don't miss opening night for the One Water Brewing Showcase, where you can sample unique, eco-friendly beers made with recycled water from Scottsdale's very own advanced water treatment plant. It's all happening here at the Scottsdale waterfront, from Scottsdale Road to Goldwater Boulevard, and it's completely free. For event details, visit canalconvergence.com.
Scottsdale invites you to honor those who have served our country at this year's Veterans Day commemoration. This free event takes place on the Memorial Lawn at Scottsdale City Hall, 3939 North Drinkwater Boulevard, from 10:30 a.m. to noon. Let's come together as a community to show our gratitude to our veterans. Honor. Remember, join us this Veterans Day in Scottsdale.
Craving fresh flavors? Swing by the Old Town Scottsdale Farmers Market every Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. With over 100 Arizona growers, you'll find organic produce, seasonal treats, and more. Join us at 3806 North Brown Avenue. It's free to attend. Fresh, local fun. See you at the market.
Welcome to Podsdale, brought to you by the City of Scottsdale. Join us to explore the stories that make our city a world-class community. Welcome to another episode of Podsdale. I am Public Affairs Supervisor Holly Peralta, and I'm excited to introduce a co-host I have with me today, Jada McClendon. She's new to the Office of Communication with the City of Scottsdale. Jada, thank you for stepping in and helping me out with the show.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
And I'd also like to introduce the guests that we will have today. It's going to be a fun episode. The weather is finally getting nice. We're going to talk about the holidays. They're right around the corner. So we have a returning guest, Gina Azima. She's been on the show before, but she is our solid waste customer service and outreach manager and someone new to the show. Bryce Denton. He is a water quality supervisor with Scottsdale Water. Hi, Bryce.
Hi. Good to be here.
Good to have you. And you know what I like to do when we have someone who hasn't been on the show before? Share a little bit about yourself to the audience and what you do for the city.
Okay. My name is Bryce Denton, and I work in water quality. Currently, I'm over the pretreatment program and stormwater program. And so we do inspections at all the restaurants. We look at their grease traps and make sure they're maintaining them properly. And we also do the sampling when it rains for the stormwater and all the compliance that's involved in that.
All the stuff that probably most people don't even think about, right?
Yep.
And how long have you been with the city?
I've been with the city coming up on 7 years, I think.
Okay, great. Well, it's great to have you on the show. And like I said, today we are talking over some holiday tips just to make this time of year a little bit easier for our listeners. I know I love this time of year, and I'm already thinking about Thanksgiving. What about you guys?
Absolutely.
Yep. 2-day weekend.
Yeah, that's a bonus. We were just talking about that earlier on my team, how we have that day off after Thanksgiving, which is great. Now, getting prepped for that, though, is the focus of our discussion today. And we're going to start with you, Gina, and talk about tips to reduce food waste during the holidays.
Yeah, so holidays are getting the family together, cooking big meals, which also means a lot of leftovers. So for us, we tried to encourage residents to just be kind of conscientious about planning their meals a little bit more in depth. I know I love Thanksgiving leftovers myself. I try to get creative as well. So making like soups and casseroles. And is there any way that I can make like a big giant sandwich with all that turkey and stuffing and everything like that left over? So what we try to tell residents is plan ahead, kind of know what the head count is going to be. Plan accordingly. There's wonderful tips online, including scottsdaleaz.gov, search for composting and food waste. That'll kind of give you a little bit of background to kind of help you plan those meals a little bit more precisely. The other thing is that if you love leftovers like I do, I like to make little to-go bags for family members so that they can enjoy those leftovers the next day as well.
With all the cooking that people do, there's always the temptation to put the grease down the drain. Why should people avoid doing that?
A lot of reasons. One of them is you don't want a sewage backup, right? At least, especially during the holidays, I would think. When we cook, probably cooked at some point in your lifetime with some form of meat, something that produced some grease, and left it to sit on the stove with the stove turned off, and you come back and the grease has solidified. You can scrape that into the trash, ideally. Some people will, mix that with water and some Dawn and say, okay, it looks nice and liquefied. I'm going to dump it down the sink here. The problem with that is that it goes down the drain, out of sight, out of mind, until it resolidifies in your pipes. It then catches more grease, it catches food waste, it catches other things that go down the drain, causes a blockage, and that can end up either back in your home, or if it makes it out past your home into the pipes that are under the street, then it can cause a sewer backup in the street, which is called a sanitary sewer overflow, otherwise known as poo in the street, which nobody wants, right? So, yeah, that's one reason why we definitely shouldn't put that waste down the drain.
It's a good thing to think about throughout the year, right? But especially with Thanksgiving coming along, I think at one point too, I used to remember people saying you could just run the hot water and put grease down the drain. But as you explained, that's not really a solution, right? Yeah,
it'll get past your sink, but it can, especially in the winter when it's colder out, it'll resolidify sooner. It might make it down into the street, like I said, but we just want to avoid both scenarios, whether it's a backup in the street or a backup in your home. Either way is inconvenient for you and your neighbors.
Right. And do you see an increase in these types of backups this time of year?
Yeah, we do. They tend to increase a little bit. Thankfully, we have a great team that flush regularly in the sewer lines, and they're really on top of it to try to prevent these things from happening. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we do see a little increase in the winter times.
What does your team have to do if it does happen?
My team specifically, if it involves a restaurant, then we would go out and get involved. But residential is different. So restaurants have devices that trap grease and oil and food waste and fats. Part of our FOG program, fats, oils, and grease. So these devices, they trap all the fat and grease and oil and just let the water out into the sewer, right? But that's different than the residential. So if it's a residential thing, they don't have any regulations like that. So it's more on us to be the controlled user. We don't have any control type of devices there. For restaurants involved in that, then we would go out and do that. But there's other groups that would be involved in a residential sanitary sewer overflow.
Pretty soon people are going to start getting into the shopping and everything like that. And are there any guidelines that you suggest for recycling that material?
Yeah, absolutely. Two major things, because we know that buying online is a big thing no matter what. We call that the Amazon effect. So we try to remind residents, online shopping, great, but the biggest thing for us is you need to break down those boxes before you put them in your container to make sure that lid is closed and flush. Wrapping paper, bows and ribbons, and all kinds of wonderful decorations and things like that. And so we try to remind residents, none of that goes into your recycling bin. Now, if you do something basic like a craft paper to wrap your presents, wonderful, and maybe you enhance it with like a fun stamp or something like that, those items are recyclable. But anything that has glitter, foil, metallic, anything like that, it just cannot be recycled. So it needs to go in your trash. The other thing I want to remind is all of those packing materials, like your bubble wrap, your plastic bags, which are pretty common nowadays, those go in your trash, or you can recycle those plastic bags over at your local grocery store or Target.
Does solid waste typically see an influx of people, not really following those things during this time of year?
We do. So I will say this, we start to see a massive increase of overfilling containers from not breaking down those boxes. The biggest thing for us is we encourage residents to kind of plan ahead. If you can reuse those boxes to wrap those gifts, if you can break them down even further, that's wonderful. But when it comes to your trash overflowing during the holidays, that's kind of a big no-no because we just want to not allow for vermin and pests to occur. And then the other big thing is if you know that you're going to have some big parties, you're going to have lots of guests, and you're going to be producing more trash than you normally do, then we encourage getting that second can as well.
That's a good tip. I think I learned this from my mom. She was really thrifty, but she'd always reuse boxes. And she'd even save boxes from Christmas for us to wrap things with throughout the year. Why is it so important for the lid to be completely shut? It seems like we're being really picky about that, but there's a reason behind it, right?
Yes. So you've got Maricopa County Health Code. When you've got food waste and green waste and things like that, those protrusible items, you start to get maggots and then flies. It also attracts other types of vermin and pests. So raccoons, javelinas, things like that. And so we always try to encourage keeping that lid closed just so we maintain health standards.
I would also add to that from a stormwater perspective, when the lid's open, debris can fly out and it ends up in our storm drains and causes issues when it rains with
And I'm glad that you said that because I was just going to say,
sorry.
or it ends up in your neighbor's yard or in your own. So, yeah. So, and then when it comes to recycling, again, that debris ends up all over your street, in your neighbor's yards, things like that. So, yeah.
So with those boxes, when you mentioned the Amazon effect,
yes,
really it's best to break those down, right? Because obviously if you throw a full box into the recycling bin, you're going to wind up with less room in there. But that's also hard on our equipment.
It is. So a couple of things in regards to that. So first and foremost, when you don't break down the boxes, yes, it does take up the space in the can. The other thing is that anything that you have below, say that box, could get lodged. So when our grabbers go to take the base of the can, sometimes it gets pinched. And what ends up happening is they're unable to fully empty out the can. So partial service or no service sometimes is pretty common because of that. But I also would like to point out, too, that our most common problem is oversized boxes, which I think it's wonderful that residents recycle their boxes. But the problem is that, hey, I broke down that box, I folded it down, but then they lodge it right into the can, which just gets stuck. And then we literally have no ability to service the can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as saving water during the holiday season, do you have any tips for residents, Bryce?
So the best resource for that would be water conservation. They have a lot of information on their website. A few things that I just came up with would be to make sure that you plan ahead when if you have meat or any kind of food that you're thawing, not to thaw that under running water or in water. Just put it in the fridge and let it thaw out there. So, and then also load up your dishwashers completely before you start a load. Those are kind of the only things I could think of that are specific to maybe the holiday when you're eating more or cooking more, have people over, But other than that, just the regular water conservation tips of checking your toilets, make sure there's no leaks, your landscaping, make sure that's, all in working order and everything. Because, toilets can really just run. The little flap that's in there might just have a little leak in it, and you get a lot of water just from that little flap not operating properly.
I got a question for you both. Bryce, I'll start with you on this one. I'm sure Gina would have some other tips for us. But going back to things going down your drain, most people have a garbage disposal. Would you suggest can you put food down a garbage disposal? Is it better to scrape it into the trash or do something else with it?
It is possible to put food down a garbage disposal, but we would prefer you not. We like for all food waste to go into the trash, including grease and oil. Now, obviously, you don't want to just dump the grease directly into the trash. Pour that into maybe a coffee can or, let it cool and pour it into a cup of some kind and then throw that away, not in the recycle, right? And let that cool, put some kind of absorptive material in there, maybe paper towel or
use a napkin.
Old coffee grounds or
I'll take it a step further for you, Bryce.
Yeah.
What we encourage is composting. So all your veggie scraps, everything that you're using that you've got left over from prep and everything like that. It's those potato skins. It's the ends of old loaves if you're making stuffing, those kinds of things. We always encourage, there's wonderful opportunities that you can do at home. There's curbside services available for a small fee, those kinds of things. But I will say, just as a friendly reminder, on grease, it's pretty common deep frying turkeys. You end up with a lot of oil. And just like Bryce was saying, some kind of an absorbent is great. Putting it in that coffee can. We also discourage using any kind of like hot coals if it's common for you to barbecue during the holidays and things like that, because those can cause truck fires.
Good tips. I'm old school. I just like to throw my turkey in the oven. How about you guys? Do you have a preference?
In the oven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't typically prepare our turkey, but my wife likes to use an oven bag.
Okay.
Keeps it moist.
Yeah.
But if you've ever had a deep fried turkey.
Oh, yeah. They're great.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
So that's the way my grandpa makes it.
Good, but a lot of work. And then, like you said, you have to worry about what you're doing with all that leftover grease
Oil. Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah. Well, those are some great tips. You've talked quite a bit about composting, and we have a lot of really good information on our website if you want to learn more about composting throughout the year.
Yes. So go to scottsdaleaz.gov and search food waste or composting.
I was surprised to learn the amount of food waste that occurs just in the United States as a whole. It's a pretty large amount of our garbage and things that go into the landfill.
Yes. Over billions of pounds of food waste. An individual is estimated at producing about 350 pounds themselves a year. And they talk about the loss of cost, which is about $1,500 is what they estimate a family spends and wasting that food each year. Yeah, it's pretty significant when you think about it.
So hopefully as we're getting prepped, we won't be wasting our food. We won't be clogging up our sink drain with oil or grease. Have any of you ever had a Thanksgiving cooking mishap by chance?
I think like maybe my first year cooking, I might have burnt something. I feel like you just can't come back from that sometimes. I mean, you do better next year, but yeah, I don't even remember what it was.
I'm embarrassed to admit this, but one of the very first years I cooked a turkey, I managed to burn the top of my foot. And I know that sounds bizarre, but I accidentally put a plastic container on the stovetop that was hot. And once I realized I did that, I went to remove it, and the plastic had melted and it fell, and a piece of it fell on the top of my foot. So I did manage to get the turkey done, but I was limping around for a few days.
Now that I think about it, yeah, we had I think someone, I can't remember how we tried to cook the turkey, but it didn't work, and the turkey didn't cook fully. So it was pretty much, it was a little bit cooked, but it was very undercooked. And so instead of eating it, we went to Walmart, I think, and bought some rotisserie chickens and had a bunch of rotisserie chickens for Thanksgiving.
Well, that can work in a pinch too, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Any other final thoughts or things you would like to add that people can think about as they're getting ready for the holidays, and especially in the kitchen?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just being conscientious of what you're buying, what you're making, and what you plan on doing with it at the end of it.
And I'll just say, only rain in the storm drain and no food waste, including fats, oils, and grease in the sink or toilet or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Gina, are there any important dates that residents should keep in mind as far as like recycling services and things like that?
Yes. Thank you so much. I just want to send a friendly reminder to our residents to be conscientious of the changes to the collection schedule during the holidays. Not only is Thanksgiving affected by it, but also Christmas and New Year's. Usually it goes on to the following day. So if your normal collection is on Thursday, then put your can out on Friday. They can find out more information about all the changes to the schedule by going to the scottsdaleaz.gov and searching holiday schedule.
Perfect. Gina, Bryce, thank you so much for joining us today. And Jada, thank you for joining me to co-host. It was fun. It was nice to have someone by my side to do this. And I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
That's all for this episode of Podsdale. If you enjoyed listening, be sure to subscribe. You can find us on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. Share episode ideas and provide your feedback by emailing communications@scottsdaleaz.gov. Thanks for listening.